Well, thank you for joining me.
Hey, our pleasure.
I'm thinking about this because we were briefly talking about Davey Havoc out there. I asked him and we talked about like, how can I hear the East Bay in AFI? How can I hear Torrance in your music?
That's interesting.
Can I?
Yeah, I think you can. But you could probably also hear a fair bit of the East Bay. We listen to a lot of like East Bay punk, like Flats and AFI, but yeah, as far as Torrance, I would say The Descendants and FYP are two bands that are from Torrance that I think you can hear in Joyce Manor, and I think it's hard to know how much of that is just like kind of would have been there anyway had we never heard those bands, and just maybe kind of growing up in that environment creates little rascals that make music like that.
Yeah.
You know,
the South Bay kind of punk thing has always sounded a little bit different than the rest of California or anywhere else really, and it just has like this very specific like beach adjacent sound that I don't know, I think it's kind of hard to describe, but it's very much there and always has been.
Yeah, and they're not that punk, but they kind of invented pop punk in some ways. The Beach Boys. I mean, I've listened to a ton of Beach Boys, so I think in some of our better moments you can hear some Beach Boys. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like one of those things you can't really wash off if you're from a specific place that, you know, it's even down to how like ubiquitous some bands are in Southern California. Like a band like Pennywise, where we're from, like you'll see like a tow truck with like a Pennywise sticker on it, you know? Yeah. So it's like all these things are kind of omnipresent, like kind of like melodic but aggressive punk music. It's like, it feels very much like surf culture and skate culture in the South Bay and stuff like that.
And it's, and maybe in ways we're not even aware of. Like, I don't really feel like I have a California accent, but if I say that to some people, they're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, have you ever heard yourself, you know? You really have a Southern California accent, but I'm not conscious of having one, you know?
I think you have a little California accent.
I do have a California accent, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I think inherently like punk music is it's like a reactive genre.
Mm-hmm.
And like as an East Coast person, like New Jersey post-hardcore is like very specific, or like Philly has a very specific sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's super interesting. And as someone who like hasn't been to, I don't think I've ever been to Torrance, so I was curious.
You wouldn't have a lot of reasons to.
It's an unremarkable suburb, yeah, I would say. But weirdly, it does have kind of, that South Bay area has a very rich punk history in like you know, Black Flag, Minutemen, Circle Jerks, all that stuff kind of being based out of the South Bay.
Yeah, there's some people that are from there specifically, but I think also at that time, I mean, still to this day, Torrance is a place where there's a lot of industrial places where you can kind of get like a, Descendants famously had like I guess that was more Lomita, but like a practice space you would live in and just they would practice all day. So kind of that zone of Torrance, Lomita is all very industrial, and you can get cheap warehouse space.
Not industrial like the music, but industrial like yeah.
Do you think that has changed over time with your music? Like it's drifted further away, or now you guys are Long Beach? Like how, or do you just think like it's still kind of?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think maybe my personal sensibility became less suburban when I kind of moved out of the suburbs, and Long Beach is a bit more of a city, a bit more walkable, a bit more of like it had a like local music culture and shows I would go to regularly, and just go to a bar and there would be a show, you know, and stuff. And there's almost none of that in Torrance. So in Torrance, being like, you know, in my late teens, early 20s, it was very like, get me the fuck out of here sort of vibe, you know, which really is a very adolescent thing, like to hate the suburb that you're from, you know, and very pop punk. And once I got out of there and moved to a city, you know, I think I had a little less of that angsty, like, can't wait to leave my hometown.
Yeah.
You know?
How were you like exposed to that kind of music growing up?
What kind of music? Punk?
Yeah, punk music, or any of the music that influenced you early on when you were still in the suburbs.
Yeah, well, how about you, Matt?
I have an older sister who is like 7 years older than me. So when I was, you know, she was like already in junior high when I should just hold the mic. Yeah. She was like, you know, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, she was like, 15. So she was playing me like Descendants and Propaganda was another like band that I could not grasp at that age, but I have always loved them. And just bands like that getting played for me, and then I just, carried them with me and never stopped being into that sort of thing.
For me, it was I always liked music a lot. Like I was obsessed with music, but I got into punk through I was at this music store called The Warehouse, which was kind of like a local chain. And I was with my dad and my dad's friend, who's named Sean Daly. And I was like, yo, check it out. This CD is only $4.99. And he's like, that's impossible. A CD cannot be $4.99. And I was like, I don't know, man. And then we asked the guy, I was like, hey, is this really $4.99? And he like scanned it and he's like, yeah, it is. And then he's like, whoa, do you want it? I was like, sure. And then it was Punkorama 2. So I went home and I was just like, yeah, pretty blown away by, it was really out of just kind of like, can you believe how cheap this is? It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Shout out Epitaph, $5.
And then Epitaph Records, yeah. I actually asked Brett, I was like, did you invent that? And he's like, I think so. I was like, fuck, you're a G for that one. Yeah. What about you? How'd you get into punk, dude?
Well, I think Blink-182 was really popular at the time, so I think you couldn't really avoid that. But I remember I was at a summer camp, I was maybe 8, going into 3rd grade or something. And there was a camp counselor who I had a crush on, who had a Dickies jacket with Misfit skull on it that I'd seen before. And I was like, hey, I like Blink-182. And she was just like, well, that's cool, they're awesome, but you should check out Descendants or Misfits. So I was just kind of filed it away, okay, next time I go to a Borders, I'm gonna get whatever I can find there. And then so that's kind of what got me into maybe more obscure stuff, because of skating and all that stuff, you couldn't really get away from punk into certain pop punk, but
it was mainstream culture. It wasn't edgy at all to be into punk where we grew up.
It's true.
That's so interesting. So you guys have been a band for a minute. What is still exciting for you about making music? How does that?
Yeah, I think we have been a band for a minute. Matt and I have almost been playing in bands together for 20 years, over 20 years. God, it's crazy. Yeah. But Joyce Manor, started in 2008. We've been doing this band for almost 20 years. Yeah, I mean, making music is just it's hard for me to imagine a time where I wouldn't be doing it. It's kind of all I've ever done since I was a kid, and I love doing it. But I think one thing that's been really motivating in our career has been that we never have had a moment where we found ourselves way bigger than we were yesterday. It's not kind of oh my God, this happened and then we blew up. And it's just kind of we've been gradually a little bigger every year, which is really kind of cool. And it's sort of been this kind of slow release capsule of motivation, because your band getting a little more popular motivates you and makes you excited about let's keep going, whereas if you have kind of this high jump and then kind of steep decline and your shows are getting smaller, or you're booking rooms that are underselling, it can just be kind of hurt your pride. And we haven't really had to face that. We haven't had a moment of this is it, holy shit, we really broke through that next level. But we've just been kind of strung along by the carrot. Exactly. And it's kind of taken us.
I was going to say, there have been some times where we've been kind of all right, let's maybe pack it in. And then there's a bit of cool email. We're just all right. Well,
oh, that could be cool. Yeah.
It's a consistent level of comfort to where you're able to just really, we've been able to really just refine what we've always done without having to really worry about if we make a wrong move, everyone stops coming to the shows, it's been...
Or you blow your moment. It's kind of what I'm talking about, where you have oh my God, you have this opportunity and this door is open for you. And if you blow it, that's it, So we haven't really had this outside pressure because we've underperformed, or not underperformed, but performed just enough to keep going,
That sounds it sounds like you said, comfort. Yeah.
Sort of
steady.
Ideal in a weird way.
It does sound ideal.
Yeah.
I mean, also because your discography, there are shifts between each thing. I mean, I think that there's a core, which we can get to, and being able to steadily grow while changing
Mm-hmm.
it feels like kind of a blessing. Because,
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
if you blow up for one thing, then there's a lot of room for disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. Room for like disappointing like the people that are working for you, or kind of even like people in your ear about like what you're going to be the next blank or whatever. And then, you know, you get your hopes up and then you're disappointed, and it can leave a sour taste in your mouth about just like your career and what you could have done differently and stuff. And we haven't really had to deal with that. We just like had like every year's been a little better, but and it's just allowed us to kind of make the records that we want to make and not feel like pressure to sort of to meet any moment.
Yeah. How would you describe the band to someone who's never listened?
Oh, I do it to like Uber drivers and stuff with like yeah. I would say it's emo tinged pop punk.
They're like, what?
Emo what?
Yeah.
What?
Emo tinged pop punk is what I would say. Or you say pop punk and they're like, oh, what kind of pop punk? And I say, well, it's emo tinged with like some, you know, indie rock sensibilities.
Yeah, I like that.
What would you say, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, when people,
Here's the mic.
a similar thing, I'm always kind of like, you know, you ever heard like Weezer, Green Day, Jimmy Eat World, like, you know, you hit them with the real A string basics, and people can kind of figure it out from there.
Chase, what do you think?
You guys covered it, yeah.
All right.
But like outside of genre, or, you know, like where, like sonically what you're adjacent to, what's like the thesis statement? Like what's the core message?
I would say it's try to write songs that are really catchy and short with some like sardonic wit. Like I wit is really important, right? I like kind of witty lyrics. Like I'm a big Morrissey fan, and I really like just like a one-liner, you know? So I'm really trying to have just like, you know, like just like a quote. Like you could just like read that and be like, oh, that's, wow, how cutting, you know? I just don't want to have like read like kind of like boring impressionistic lyrics, or just kind of like, oh wow, this really must mean something if you're this person, but I don't know what it's like. I want it to be like relatable, or to like kind of resonate, and usually with some kind of like humor, but not like silliness, you know? But yeah, definitely. I wouldn't. This is not what I would say to the Uber driver. I would be like, you know, yeah.
Maybe you should try
I would be
that,
like, you know, like Paul Westerberg, or like, you know, like yeah. Some Uber drivers, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a really good description of like, that's how I interpret lyrics as a listener. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And do you feel like they're diaristic? Like, do you think about the person listening while you're writing lyrics, or are you just, that might be like a little bit too.
No, I kind of think about it more like, well, I do, in that I kind of think I write the lyrics to be almost kind of like writing a joke, like a setup and then punchline. Like, and that really sounds like I'm trying to write like an Adam Sandler song or something, you know what I mean? Like, but it is sort of supposed to be kind of like, you set it up and then you answer it. And for it to be good, people have to kind of get it. It doesn't matter, like, if your joke is really, really good if no one's laughing at it. You know, like, it has to. So in that way, I think about the listener, but not kind of like, if I think it's good, but I'm like, oh, but I don't think people will like it. Usually if I think it's good, I think people will like it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not so different. It's not like I have like, oh, well, I get that. But other people are like, I'm a normal ass dude. So if I think it's clever or funny or relatable or tragic, then usually people will also feel that way. Like, whenever I've written something, I'm like, damn, that's good. Those are the lines that people tend to connect with.
Yeah. So when did the process for the new album start?
Early 2023?
Yeah. And then we went in August. That was a rough time. Yeah, we did a first try in August where we did 3 songs, and none of them really turned out. We did All My Friends Are So Depressed, After All You Put Me Through, and an early version of Grey Guitar that was really different. And they were all a bit different, and it was just not. It was kind of like we looked at that batch of songs and it was like, is this where we're going with this? It's kind of like gothy and post-punk-y, but it...
You could tell that there were good songs there. They just needed a lot of work to...
The approach was really wrong, yeah, and it sucked, yeah, and it was... Nobody felt good about it.
Was that before Brett got involved?
Yes, yeah. We went in and did 3 songs with Rob Schnaff, who we've worked with a lot in the past and learned a lot from. But yeah, like Brett kind of just it's not really Rob's fault, but going into that session, there was kind of like a lack of vision, like overall about what the performances should feel like, what the tone should be. And Brett was kind of the only one who really had like any sort of confidence to talk about what he thinks the song should be like, in like from a sonic standpoint.
Yeah, he was kind of like, I don't like the vibe of this. Yeah. He's like, I like the song. But he's like, I don't really like what. Yeah, he said he said it sounded like pretentious English music.
Oh my God.
Which it kind of did. Like it kind of sounded like Chameleons or something like that, where I was like, yeah, it was very moody and not super Joyce Manor. I don't know. Like it was very, and I think Rob liked it enough, but nobody was really feeling it that much. And it didn't really seem like Rob had an idea of like where we should go instead. But Brett was really confident. Like, I know how to do this. I know how to approach this. And I think we can do something really cool with it. But I didn't really have high expectations. But Brett said, I will record a song for you for free. You don't have to pay for, I'll pay for the studio. You don't have to pay me. And if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. And as a person who's like, doesn't like spending money, I was like, hell yeah, for free, let's go. So we went in with Brett with I didn't know what it would be like. I don't know. He doesn't really record bands that much these days.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if like the vision he had for it would be cool. We went in and we redid All My Friends Are So Depressed, and I had a new song. I used to go to this bar, the title track, and we did those 2 songs in like 3 days. It was like apparent like within like maybe half an hour of recording with him that is a really good chemistry in the studio. It was really awesome. And he had a really good idea for kind of like what we should sound like and what the record should sound like. It was cool.
So he was able to like tie those songs together in a different way.
Yeah. And I used to go to this bar. It was a lot less like post-punk gothy moodiness. It was back to like, all right, this sounds like Blink-182. I'm excited about this. This I'm excited to record and put out. Like, I wish we could put this out tomorrow. And I didn't feel that way about any of the other songs. And so, yeah, he was able to kind of like pull away some of the moodiness, I guess.
It's kind of like you said earlier. I mean, I guess I've been listening to a lot of Weezer lately. And like, it's like the humor, and there is moodiness, but there's like a satirical spin, and I like hear that so much, especially I used to go to this bar, like,
it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
also like, I feel very jaded about music, unfortunately. And like, I haven't like had a song like stuck in my head like crazy in a really long time, or a song that I'm like listening to on repeat. There are multiple songs on the album that I'm like listening to on fucking repeat.
Thank you. That's really nice of you. That's a high compliment.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's cool. It's really nice to like feel that about music again.
Nice. Yeah, totally.
Because it just like, I feel like I get really heady about things, and it's hard to just like, so I really appreciate the album, and it's cool. Like very exciting to hear something like that. What do you feel like is the most different about this album versus things you've done in the past?
I mean, it's just, I was just going to say, it's just so poppy. It's like, like 3/4 of the way through the record, before we finished it, I was listening back to the first few sessions and was like, man, this record is, it very much sounds like us, but it's a like real like 80s pop record. And I was really excited about that. And it felt like a bit of a departure for us, but not a hard left turn, in a way that I was super stoked to be working on.
Yeah. So we recorded it in like batches of songs. So we would go in and do like 2 songs, and then take a break and write some more, and then go in and do 3 songs, and like only one of those would make it, and then we go back and write some more. So I would say that one of the weirder songs is After All You Put Me Through, which is like that one kind of, we actually retained some of its like post-punk gothiness. Like the bass line is almost like
the beginning
funk.
Is really like,
it has that shift, and it goes kind of dream pop for the choruses, but it has this like post-punk kind of thing happening in the verse. And that's kind of new for us. I don't think we've ever gone full, just sort of, I don't know. It's like not quite like Gang of Four sounding, but it almost has like a funk.
Got kind of a dance pop thing going.
It's a little bit of dance punk, and we've never really done that. So I guess that would be like a moment that, is new territory. But for the most part, other than that, and then falling into it is sort of like, it went like full kind of like almost a classical, like it sounds like Canon in D or something like that. So Oh, there's a lot of keyboards. We hired this guy, Roger Manning, who's an amazing keyboard player, and he put keyboards all over it. But he played on like Blink-182, Enemy of the State. He's played on a bunch of like Morrissey solo. He's played on I think every Interpol record. So he's like a secret weapon that's like from Brett's Rolodex, where he's like, damn, I can hear some keyboards on this. I was like, well, do a little keyboards. He's like, not you. he's like, I got a guy for that. You know what I mean? And then he like basically sent it out to Roger Manning, and he sent it back with just these like amazing keyboard ideas. And then we kind of picked what to use and what not to use. And it was really cool.
This is a question that I ask a bunch, but there's an interview with Trent Reznor where he's talking about Downward Spiral, and he's like saying that the way he approaches the album is like as a body of work, and he like conceptualizes the body of work before going into it versus like a collection of songs.
Wow.
How do you guys feel like, do you go in with like an intention for the entire project, or it's more like
not at all
the opposite of what he does? Like, I mean, Barry's the guy, but they do kind of feel like the project is like each song. And then at the end, you hope they work together. Yeah. And
sometimes it can be frustrating if you write two songs that are similar and they're good. Like, and it's kind of like, I don't often really want to have two songs that are too similar. I'll end up like maybe kind of rewriting something that's not broken just to kind of give the out, because our records are so short that I really don't want to have any like the same moment kind of happen twice. And so, yeah, it's very much about just like one song at a time, and then you kind of zoom out and look at what you have and see like, does it make an album, you know? But I absolutely have no idea what we're doing until we start doing it. And one thing that was cool about this one was we didn't know we were going to be working with Brett till he offered to do it for free. And then I was like, we tried it out, and then it was cool. And then once it was cool, I was like, oh my God, like, let's make a Brett Gierwitz record, you know? Like,
so sick.
Yeah, because he produced like Rancid and stuff like that, where I was like, what does Joyce Manor look like in the classic produced by Brett Gierwitz thing? And then it just kind of made me sort of think about like our place in like Southern California punk, you know, as like a younger kind of, I don't know, band from that world. And the fact that we are from that world, when we're not always thought of as a band from that world, like we're referred to as like Midwest emo or whatever. I'm like, yo, I'm a SoCal punker, you know? Like, yeah, that kind of makes me start thinking about a record and like, oh, that's what record we're making. Interesting. And maybe then when I'm writing songs or thinking about how to approach songs, that's subconsciously in there, you know?
I mean, it really, from all the things that I've, you know, seen that he's said around this, like he really sees you guys as like canon.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Really nice of him to say that. Yeah. It's hard to think of yourself like that, you know, because it's like, how can I be canon? Just a little old me, you know?
You guys do stand out in a way that's like, you have a very unique place.
This year kind of, or not this year, but like this time we've been recording our record, I kind of realized that there's not a lot of bands that sound like us or have the same kind of lineage. Like we came up with a lot of bands who we're like still friends with and have learned a lot from and stuff. But yeah, there's not really anybody kind of doing like the Epiphat, but also Jawbreaker. And, you know, so working with Brett was a cool, and having him say all these like nice validating things about us was a way to sort of like hone in on a lot of that stuff that kind of is embedded with us, or in us rather.
Yeah, I think I'm always looking for like the similarities and things. So yeah, just to be a band that sounds kind of like Guided by Voices, but also sounds like Blink-182, and like at the same time. Like the goal is always to try to have them sound not like, okay, we did a Guided by Voices song, now let's do a Blink-182 song, even though we kind of do that. But it's, if you can have a song kind of sound like both of those things at the same time, that's really the goal. Not like you're kind of changing outfits, you know, but you always kind of look like. And Brett did kind of mention that. Well, he's like, you guys are so weird. He's like, 1 minute you guys are talking about Dragon Force, and like the next minute you guys are talking about like Bill Callahan. He's like, you guys are insane. Like, and yeah, I just don't. There aren't that many, I guess, people out there or bands out there that are into Dragon Force and Bill Callahan, but there are some. Like, you do go on tour and you stay at someone's house and you're like, damn, you got Dragon Force and you got Bill Callahan. It's like, cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like before I heard your new album, and I saw the press release and I saw some of the references that were like on it, I was like, it's all over the place. But then I could hear it And it also sounded like it made sense, but it also sounded like you guys. And I feel like it's cool. I mean, I do feel like it looks like my record collection or somebody who just like is really just like loves music passionately. So there's like X, and then there's also like the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And like those two, there's similarities in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah, I definitely feel like to really enjoy music, you kind of have to just be open to like things sounding good and not like, not be embarrassed to like Dragon Force or something.
Don't be embarrassed to like Dragon Force, guys. I think it's annoying sometimes when bands like, they're like, oh, who are your influences for this? And they just kind of like say like, oh, like Pavement and I don't know, Philip Glass or something like that, And then I listen to it and it's just like the most forgettable, like sounds like fucking Creed. You know what I mean? Like that's what you actually sound like. But yeah, I feel like I can go to bat for like, yes, that I was influenced by that and this is why. And I could draw a line and be like, boom, there you go, there it is.
Yeah.
I could back it up.
And you dedicated the record to Brian Wilson.
Yeah. He passed away while we were mixing it. Yeah.
Do you think there's Beach Boys on this record?
Hell yeah. Yeah. And like the vocal arrangement and like, whatever it was, there's like those stacked oohs with the response vocal. Yeah. But, and it kind of sounds a lot like Weezer, but there's a lot of Beach Boys in Weezer too.
This is true. It sounds like there's a lot that gets left on the cutting room floor when you're making an album.
Hell
You're
yeah.
also picking up a lot from the past, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So leaving this record, once you finished it, like what's not on it? Like what did you leave on what helped you pick things?
Yeah, I would say we probably tracked 16 songs for this record. We used 9 of them, but when I say that, it's kind of like we tracked the song Gray Guitar 4 times, but it's like they were really different versions. And to where it was just like some of them only have like one, like the verse of one of them was the chorus in another version. And the other 3 parts, like there was an intro and there was a different chorus. And then there was like that chorus will end up getting used as a bridge in another song. So I always have these like scraps laying around of like a melody or a lyric. And when I have a new idea, I'm kind of like, I go through my trash pile of unused ideas and see like, well, does that work with this, like this new verse I just wrote? Like if I wrote a verse and a chorus, I'm like, okay, I love the verse, I hate the chorus. What other choruses do I have? And then I'll just try that. Or like I have this little instrumental riff. Does that work here? And yeah, it's basically just becomes kind of collaging at that point. And I only started doing this really around like Never Hungover Again, because I used to be kind of weirdly like, if the idea didn't all come at the same time, it's not good. But I started getting really interesting and cool results just putting ideas next to each other. I really, really like what that does. I like what it does lyrically, where I'm just like, those thoughts don't necessarily have anything to do with each other, but I really like the last line of that verse with the first line of this chorus. And sometimes I'll change it to kind of like make more sense. But yeah, I'm often like a lot of happy accidents.
Some of those scraps have kind of spanned the course of like multiple albums at this point, where like the same part of a song will try it for multiple sessions across different albums, and then it'll finally make the cut after 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys know it's like, oh, you're trying that thing again, tried that on every record.
Yeah, the After All You Put Me Through like riff, that was around since like $1 Million, I think, or forgot. But yeah, so it's just all stuff like nothing really comes to practice or rehearsal if it's not really worth using. I think that's kind of like Barry like edits himself a lot before he even shows us. So it's kind of like there's something worth like dissecting, even if it's just like one line or like one moment or something. So,
and I'm less like freaked out now where like I have to use everything right now, because I know like it's okay, it can go in the trash pile and get recycled at some point. And yeah, there's like stuff from every era of our band on this record.
That's so cool. And I like that because I do feel like that kind of also negates the idea of eras. Like, and I think that there's like a lot of artists, it feels like they need to completely reinvent themselves with every project. And as I mentioned earlier, like I do feel like you guys, there are shifts between each project, but like it doesn't feel like this like forced like new outfits, like
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because we have so many peers that started like around the early 2010s with us, and a lot of them are still making music, but a lot of them have like really kind of pivoted. Like a good example is like the band Glockamora, where like they have a band called Spirit of the Beehive now. We're great.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like they're like amazing, you know? And it's like Zach is a really great songwriter, but it's really interesting to think like, what if he was just still making the same kind of shit as Glockamora? And that's kind of like what that's kind of like us, you know? Like we never went full kind of like real art, you know? We're still kind of doing like the same kind of medium, working in the same medium that we've been working in since our early 20s. But just trying to like find ways of keeping it, kind of get better at it, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like clear growth, and like, I don't know if like maturing is the right word, but like it feels like that creatively. Yeah. And I know that nostalgia like plays a huge role in your music. And so I can also imagine that goes hand in hand with like looking back at things that you've already written.
I mean, I don't think that is interesting, because that would be hard to deny, because the record is literally called I Used to Go to This Bar. So it's kind of thinking about the past, and I'm using ideas from like 2008, you know, on some of these, like some of the singles are like literally like the verse lyrics are from a song from 2008. So yeah, it is really weird to just kind of like take pieces of who you used to be and present them as new ideas. You kind of like, here I am. Yeah.
Especially if you're working with someone like Brett, who it feels like is very focused on creating timeless.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if it's an idea that I still like all this time, like, you know, all that time later, then there must be something to it, you know? Because there's plenty of ideas that I had back in 2008 that I would like just deny, like that wasn't me. I never did that. That's not my idea, you know? But if I still want to put ownership on those now, then, you know, there's something to it.
I mean, I guess maybe it's not a word that you guys, nostalgia is not a word that you guys use yourselves per se, because I know artists can feel differently about that, but it definitely gets used around the scene and the genres and things like that. What's your relationship with that?
I think it can't be healthy, you know, too much of that. It's not good for culture and music and ideas to just always be like, every music festival is like 50% reunions and stuff, and that's what people are really excited about. It's like, oh my God, let's think about the bands that we loved in high school, kind of, or something like that. But obviously, we're guilty of it to some degree.
Yeah, I think nostalgia is natural reaction to things being so bad in the world, and I don't think that it's like a new phenomenon. But I do think that we're all in like a very nostalgic place as a society right now, looking back on something that also wasn't that good. So that's neither here nor there. But I don't think any of us are particularly nostalgic people. You know, I think we're all kind of like doing the normal amount of living in the present.
We like to remember stuff though too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we're always talking, like we play this game that called Take Me There, where I think Touche coined it, but where we just literally like talk about a show, and if someone can't remember it, we have to like, you know, like the venue smelled like this band opened up, like this guy was bringing us like catering and shit like that, you know. It was yeah, I don't know. I don't really have opinions on this.
There was a weird cookie restaurant next to, remember that cookie restaurant? Yeah.
When you guys bring your new music to the live set, like, does it change the energy, do you feel like, of the entire set?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Ever since our first record. So our first record came out and it did well, like right away. It was getting like shared on Tumblr a lot and shared on like Mediafire links and stuff. Like it was like kind of like the blog era, and it was doing well. It seemed to kind of be everywhere, and all of a sudden our shows were like attended by people like all over the US, and people would go crazy for those songs off the first record. And then like literally every record since then, there's been kind of like crickets for the new songs. Like when we played songs off the second record, people didn't go crazy. Even when we played Never Hung Over Again songs, initially, there was definitely like you could feel like a huge drop in energy in the room. Like we would play Constant Headache and people would go nuts. And then when we would play like Falling in Love Again, which is another one of our popular songs now, but it would just kind of be like people standing still kind of nodding, like, all right.
It took about a year for anyone to give a fuck about those songs.
Yeah, but now that's kind of considered like our, you know, whatever. People really like that record now. When we play those songs now, people go nuts. But it took a few took it, a year or so for them to even have any kind of energetic reaction. And I think it was just because of like how bonkers people go when they hear Constantinic for whatever reason. So sort of spoiled in a way. And then, every record after that, Cody, it would be like, you'd feel a huge drop in energy in the room. And then, but the little bit of these songs we played live, I'm not sure what it's going to be like. This record's been very well received. So I'm hoping that the songs are received well, but
Find out next week.
And even if they aren't initially, I'm not going to like cry myself to sleep about it, because like maybe in a year.
Seems like everything's been kind of a slow burn. So you guys must be like hopefully patient at this point,
I mean, in the past, we would literally like kind of chicken out. We would like balk and like, all right, let's just take that one off the fucking set, because like I can't deal with that every night. But something we learned from that band's Ceremony is just like they have like when they first started playing like different stuff that wasn't really aggressive hardcore, like they had to fucking like do entire tours where they'd play 3 kind of more power violency songs, and then it would end up like in a more new wave song, and they just like fucking stood there and did it, and I would be like scared for them kind of. So our record's not that drastic of a shift, so I feel like we can stick it out a little bit.
You kind of have to sell it a little bit. So
interesting. Are you excited about the tour?
Really excited. First show is
bringing
Military Gun right there. Military Gun. And Combat and Teen Mortgage.
Fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Why did you pick those guys?
We picked Military Gun because they put out a single when we were looking for bands that I thought was cool, and I was like, and our agent liked the idea of the tour, so. And then Combat are like a young kind of band from our world that I'm excited for them to kind of like get in front of more people.
I really wanted it's our first headlining tour in like 3 years, something like that, over 3 years. So I really wanted it to be an energetic, like really, really fun show from start to finish. And we were able to find 4 bands that all have awesome energy. And, it's going to be like a party from doors till the end.
We over the years have like often brought out like indie rock bands because that like, just reflects our music listening, like I do listen to pop punk, but like mostly older pop punk, and so like a lot of our peers or contemporaries, like not that I don't like them or anything, but what I'm actually listening to ends up being a lot more times like more in the indie rock world. And sometimes we would bring out bands like that and kind of it's kind of set a weird vibe. Like our fans are sort of like politely sitting through it, like like we brought out that band Girlpool, and people like just kind of made a weird vibe. Like I don't think Girlpool had a good time. I don't think our fans had a good time. We were just kind of like, damn, it's
a different energy level.
It's a different energy, exactly. And people kind of came for this certain kind of show or whatever. So I think we've been trying to like maybe be a little more thoughtful as far as like what kind of night we want people to have, and maybe just be a little more like meet people in the middle. Try to find bands that make sense on a Joyce Manor show.
Well, I feel like Military Gun, not dissimilar to your discography, like they have some heavy stuff, they have some really high energy stuff, and they have some like kind of deep, slower.
We've never met them or anything, so it was actually
so
gonna be
cool.
our first. It'll be our first time meeting, but it seems like we're gonna get along.
Yeah, you guys will definitely get along.
I hope we don't. I hope it's like I hope we fight on stage. It's like
totally.
Brian Jonestown Massacre.
Oh my god. Is there a lyric from the album that is your favorite or stands out the most?
The lyrics in All My Friends Are So Depressed, when Barry first played them for me, he was kind of like joking. He was kind of like, like they're not gonna be this. Like these are kind of like, some of them are kind of placeholdery, but they do make me laugh. Kind of remind me of like Dead Milkman or something, especially just about the dishwasher overflowing and stuff like that. I really like that, and they just make me laugh. Remind me of Barry.
Thanks, Chase.
I really like Gray Guitar. I think those lyrics are really good, really spooky. Pop the trunk of my car and there's nothing inside. Yeah, I think those are some of Barry's coolest lyrics.
Thanks, guys. What are my favorite ones? I like Ice Coast Bar. Yeah, I like the lyrics of Ice Coast Bar. I'm proud of those. I think they're unpretentious, but from the heart. They're very heartfelt and unpretentious, and I'm proud of them.
What is a question that nobody has asked you in this album cycle that you wish somebody would ask?
Yeah.
you
all right?
okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. There's a lot of stuff people haven't asked us. What have we been asked a lot? And then maybe that'll be a good way to kind of.
We've been asked a lot the question that's like, how do you describe your music in one sentence? Which, interestingly enough, we haven't been asked that on previous cycles, and we've been asked that one a lot.
And we
never have a good answer.
We've been asked a lot about nostalgia too. Like a lot about like this record really focuses on looking back, which to be fair, I think a lot of that is because we hired this team to run our social media and they did this thing called Joyce Manor Reacts where we're like looking at like moments in our career, like pivotal moments in our career. But that wasn't like our idea. We were like, guys, let's get together and look back.
Nostalgia is big right now.
Yeah, they were like, this will be good for your social media. And I think that kind of really painted the perception of the album to people because that's what people see us doing. And they're like, these guys love to think about their own past, which, there is some truth to that. But
people don't ask us about the clothes we were wearing in the All My Friends Are So Depressed video. Like we dressed like we went to like a costume house and got full on like kind of like apocalyptic 80s like movie punk kind of thing. And then we put that video out just expecting like I'm wearing like a sleeveless like cheetah print like shirt, which is not my vibe typically. Yeah, but not a single person was like, "Whoa, like check out how they're dressed." They're just kind of like, "Cool, new song's pretty good." And, so it's just that would
so interesting.
Yeah, one guy was like, he thinks he's Machine Gun Kelly. and I was like, damn, this was really over people's heads. But yeah, we wanted to look like the punks from Terminator 1 or something like that. And in this
you've noticed.
Yeah, because it was like our most kind of like twee indie rock song, and I was like, we should be like really punk in the video.
Yeah.
And I was like, that'll be great. And then no one noticed, and they were just like, that guy thinks he's Machine Gun Kelly. So that's
that's so
that's
funny.
Life.
Yeah, I mean the nostalgia question, I definitely understand.
No, yeah,
Everybody
I don't
asks
mind it,
that.
but I do think some of it is informed by what people are seeing on our social media.
It definitely
Didn't come from nowhere.
Well, it's also, and I try not to do a lot of reading of interviews that you've done before I interview bands.
Right.
But yeah, I noticed that, and so.
People also bring up like Brett referred to Barry's songwriting as being like the Ernest Hemingway of, and that gets brought up a lot. People are just like, so like extrapolate that, please. And we're just like,
I didn't say it. Yeah, I didn't say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, but I figured that might be that's probably like a high pressure question to ask somebody.
Yeah. They're gonna like, how's that feel?
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm more like the guy who wrote Captain Underpants or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's also but and I think what they're talking about is that it's like the shortest sad story you could write. It's like baby shoes for sale, never worn. That's what they're talking about, which I don't actually think was Hemingway. I think it was like it's like perhaps falsely attributed to him. So take that, Brett, you smarty pants. Thank you. Because just kidding. Thank you, Brett.
Well, I do think that obviously everything you've done and everything you've experienced in your life feeds into what you're doing at all times. So
totally.
That's valid. But
and it's hard. What are we gonna do? Write albums about our future? You know what I mean? This is something I did in 20 years. Check it out. You know what I mean? I can't do that yet. Next record is about 15 years from now.
What are you guys listening to right now?
The new Tiger's Jaw song that came out yesterday. I love it so much. It's so good.
The last few, because I'm kind of like you, I'm a little bit of a jaded music listener a bit, but the last few things that I really liked and listened to over and over again was Super Drag, Feeling Like I Do. I listened to that song about 1 billion times. While we were making this record, I listened to a lot of the Jerry Finn produced Tiger Army album called Music from Regions Beyond. There's a couple like New Order sounding songs on it. It's a really cool record, and I just I craved listening to that a lot for some reason. And also I've been listening to a song I got just listened to over and over again was the Starting Line song called Circulate. I couldn't believe how good that was. Yeah, that's such a great song.
First couple Lucero records a lot recently, kind of revisiting those, and there's some really great songs on those.
The other day I re-listened to, I haven't heard this song in a long time, but Tibetan Pop Stars by Hop Along. I kind of just like got it stuck in my head and we're starting to get really emotional. So I listened to it for the first time in a long time and I just couldn't believe how good that was still. Yeah, there's something else, but I can't remember. Oh, this one song by this band CCFX that Barry has played before that I just assumed was a Cure song. So I didn't ask who it was. It's called The One to Wait. That song is so fucking good.
Insanely good song.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe Strummer, Trash City too. There's a Joe Strummer track called Trash City that's insanely good. I listen to that over and over again. I get like stuck on songs. I like find a song and then I just like, it's all I want to listen to.
Music too.
You do? Yeah. I'm like, people are like, what album you listen to? I'm like, just this one tune over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then I can't listen to it for like a year.
Exactly. Yeah, but I've like just wrung every ounce of juice out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, New Guided by Voices is good. Well, I think they have a new record out already since the last one, but song's really good. Lucy's World. Lucy's World.
That's a great song. That is a really good tune. Yeah. What about you? What have you been listening to?
You guys. I just told you that.
I wasn't. That wasn't a setup. Sorry, I was actually curious. Yeah.
No, I've been listening to you guys a lot. Honestly.
Thank you.
It's on my. I've been listening to a lot of like old Thursday.
Oh, cool.
So that's my rotation.
Nice.
Like 2 songs.
Rad.
Okay, and then this is just like I gotta ask. Although hot take, like I don't hear a lot of like pop punk in your music, and I don't know.
It doesn't reflect our listening that much, even though we work in that medium.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's interesting if I listen to a lot of pop punk. Yeah. I try to like take indie rock and like make it pop punk. It's like a pop punk cover of an indie rock song.
Our music taste is really all 3 of us all over the place.
We do fuck with some pop punk though.
Pop punk is a big sliver, I would say.
5 pop punk albums.
I mean, Enema. I think Enema of the State is like all of our number 1, maybe, right? Yeah. What else? Let's keep going. Milo Goes College. I haven't listened to this one in a long time. I don't know how it really has aged, but Millencolin, Pennybridge Pioneers. I love that record. Awesome, yeah. Always love that band.
I mean, can you kind of Outcome the Wolves? Like, you know, it's like, it's not quite pop punk, but that's kind of like how I view, like through our lens of it, that kind of like, yeah.
Love songs for the retarded, the queers. That's a big one.
Yeah. Big leaps there.
Yeah.
Destination Failure. Smoking Popes.
Damn. There's other good shit, man. You're gonna have to,
24-Hour Revenge Therapy.
24-Hour Revenge Therapy.
What's the Scare Chaka record with?
I like Crossing the Switchblades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's interesting. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
This was great.
Cool.